Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, attends a global forum for the newly discovered adamantium at the White House, when an attempt to kill the President of the United States takes place. As this incident seems to escalate into an international conflict, Sam will have to discover who is hiding behind this plan. Hey everyone, welcome back to Wikos, my name is Luca Ripa and welcome to my Captain America Brave New World review, the fourth installment into the Captain America franchise and the 35th movie of the MCU. The film is directed by Julius Onah and stars Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Danny Ramirez, Tim Blake Nelson, Takehiko Ida, and Giancarlo Esposito. Before I dive into what is also finally a sequel to 2008's The Incredible Hulk, be sure to subscribe and follow Wikos on all social we're on. You can find Wikos on YouTube as Wikos Official, on Instagram and Facebook as Wikos Cinema TV Yang and Wikos Cinema TV Ita, on TikTok and X as Wikos English and Wikos Italia, and on Twitch as Wikos Twitch. Do so and you won't miss any of the Wikos reviews and content. There's been a lot of talk around this movie, and not for merit but rather gossip. The movie was shot in 2023, but the production was not impacted by the WGA strike, and in fact principal photography wrapped on June 30, 2023, 2 weeks before the SAG-AFTRA strike would kick in. However, the movie was not well received in test screenings, therefore they went back and filmed what the web considered extensive reshoots. Watching the movie, a cross-referencing with what Julius Onah said recently, what was reshot were all the scenes involving Giancarlo Esposito, who joined during said reshoots and took the role that was of the wrestler Seth Rollins, who was cut out of the movie. These obviously include some parts of the opening fight, which were obviously less crafted than some of the rest. Then some political scenes were reshot, as well as some inserts that are obviously noticeable, especially in the third act, and one character totally worked, but honestly that seems to be it. And I say that not only because I hence believe the movie did cost $180 million and not nearly $400 million like some reports were saying, but also because despite the obvious tampering, it was surprisingly cohesive and well thought out. We are not in front of New The Winter Soldier, obviously, but it is a grounded political thriller with some of the top sequences because superheroes are involved, which are honestly out of place in such a story if we were to take the movie seriously. The evolution of the story is interesting, in the sense that while you know where it's going, marketing couldn't shy away from Red Hulk, it's really grounded and political. Sure, we are not talking about Sorkin-like politics, but nevertheless, there's quite a good amount of talking as to what to do, and that again was unexpected. There's also much talking between characters in general, both to develop the thriller as well character building. Again, not great writing, but functional to the genre. The Adamantium origin story is also very interesting. It is found on the Celestial Island. Yes, they finally addressed Tiamut's broken emergence from the Eternals a whopping 4 years later. Jokes aside, it finally does play a pivotal role, and it is at the center of diplomatic negotiations and incidents, finally addressing the why the world doesn't care about Celestian emerging in the Indian Ocean. They do care, and it was almost messy. Most importantly, all the characters felt well built. And Wilson above all. Anthony Mackie was given some solid material to work with, and gives back with a strong leading performance that will be surprisingly charismatic to a lot of people. It also visits some concerns the audience had regarding Wilson taking over the mantle, the fact he ain't Steve Rogers, the fact he doesn't take the serum, whether he's a good fit or not. All things that are part of the build of the character and his build towards the idea of him becoming the new Avengers leader, which is also addressed. And it's an arc that just starts here and will be built in further movies. Cap's sidekick, Falcon, is played by Danny Ramirez, who reprises his role from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He does a pretty good job, and his presence didn't bother me like he did to some, and the writing was fun for a new Avengers in training. Thaddeus Ross is another character that was well written, though the biggest issue with him is that it's not as effective as it should be given the inevitable recasting. Don't get me wrong, I love Harrison Ford much like everyone, but it's undeniable if the role was still played by William Hurt, may rest in peace, his redemption arc would have been more impactful. That said, going with Harrison Ford was a great idea, especially given the implication of what happens to the character in the end, and I'm happy to say it doesn't phone it in. It does give a very strong performance from being a believable Potus to someone who has severe anger issues. Also, the impression he had of Blessing playing Red Hulk is strong. Speaking of Red Hulk, like I said before, the plot point is indeed undermined by the marketing. Julius Onah's movie, in fact, doesn't give for granted that he's going to transform. It teases it and keeps playing with it, but doesn't give a definitive answer, especially given the false ending. On top of that, the transformation, aside from looking gorgeous, is slow and horrific, completely opposite to those we generally know are going to happen. The marketing instead decided to hide Tim Blake Nelson's Samuel Stern, a character that had only appeared in 2008's The Incredible Hulk, never to be seen again until this movie. As you remember, the only Hulk solo movie in the MCU did tease Samuel Stern's transformation into the leader, and finally Brave New World decided to give it a whirl. The film does give a reason as to why it was never mentioned again, or at least tries. It works for the movie, but it's up to debate whether it works for the MCU as a whole. It does also give proper motivations to what he does in his involvement in the story, which is really good. I'm not going to explain more, except for two things. Team Blake Nelson knocks it out of the park, and Marvel did not go for a comic-accurate look, which I appreciate given Parallax and Megamind. As for the rest of the cast, everyone does a good job, with Giancarlo Esposito playing the most over-the-top character here, who although was written to be clearly recurring. And obviously Giancarlo is great at it. Worth noting that Shira Haas plays Ruth Bat Seraph, originally playing Sabra, a sort of Captain Israel. You can glimpse the suit in certain shots. Here she is rewritten as the Israeli widow who serves as security for POTUS. Doesn't take a genius as to why the character was heavily rewritten. Anyways, is the movie all good? Of course not. As I said, you can feel the reshoots here and there, including the CGI, the marketing did ruin some surprises, and some rewrites are obvious. The movie also, while having great pacing, does play too much by the book. Some moments were building tension to wait before they should have, and the Tiamat sequence did not present much inventiveness, though the sense of scale was thankfully intact. I also did not care much for the score. Laura Kaufman's work is functional, but I much preferred her score in What If. Overall, I scored Captain America Brave New World with a 7.5 out of 10. Fun thriller, the biggest missed opportunity is the lack of a President Nixon portrayed in the Oval Office. That's it for this review. Did you watch Captain America Brave New World? What did you think about it? Let us know down in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, follow on our platform, and remember, if you're Italian, every Tuesday at 7 AM we release our own podcast, Il Weekos Podcast, where we talk about movies and TV and occasionally gaming and tech. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and Castbox. My name is Luca Ripa, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.